All right, hey everybody, TG here. We should be good in the Moxie room. I just need to know if anybody wants to throw a chat or comment in Facebook, X, YouTube, something like that. I had some mic issues this morning, so let me just make sure that we are good to go out there. Otherwise, I'll just keep running, and we'll see if you guys how good you are at reading lips. Okay, so we got more news today. The market has been getting beat up the last well, it feels like a month at this point, but probably just 3 weeks. It has just been kind of one thing after the other that the market has been having to deal with, and so far it seems that the market is hanging in there. It has not really rolled over and totally puked yet. But if we kind of look back, the only I feel like the only good thing that the market has actually had was a cooler CPI, or at least a decent CPI read last month. And then today we had a CPI read, and it did come in a little bit hot on the not the core CPI came in like 1/10 higher. It was the regular CPI that came in a little bit hotter than probably people were expecting. So that's why the market gapped down. Uh, but beyond that, we had the DeepSeek news, then we had tariff news, and then last Friday we had the University of Michigan inflation expectation, and then now we have CPI, and all of these things have knocked the market down. And amazingly, the market is still over the daily 50. So again, I don't know if there's some rug pull that's going to come out. I feel like there have been numerous rug pulls, and this market continues to basically stay up. So I gotta hand it to it. This thing it really just has not broken down too much yet. Again, there have been a lot of liquidation breaks, a lot of bad things that have been thrown at it. Kind of this wall of worry thing that we've been talking about. And gosh, it is still mostly sideways and mostly unchanged. So I know the IWM is looking a little bit worse for wear today. It kind of broke a level that I was hoping it was going to hold, but we're just going to have to give this market some time to see if it can repair it. Underneath the surface, we went around this morning with the Moxie group, and we're still seeing some names that are pretty strong out there. Some of the nuclear names are popping up. Grab is popping up. Cart was still holding up. There's still stuff happening out there on the good side. We've been trimming some positions of things that just kind of been not working or a little bit weak, like LM&D and PSNL. We got tagged out of, but both of them for profit. Maybe not a huge profit, but still profitable. So that's decent. And so, yeah, that's kind of where we're at on this thing, is that it just seems as though the market wants to be digesting. Now, the other interesting thing, let me take a screen grab of this. If you guys go to my X page, I put a poll on that yesterday. And I gotta say, at the time that I last saw this, it was pretty much 50-50 as far as people thinking, hey, is this going to send the market higher or send the market lower? Since this has finally come in, it's a little bit less for the market lower. So those of you who did think that the market was going to go down, you were right. Anybody else was wrong. I was kind of more in the sideways camp. That's kind of what I was thinking was going to be happening. And yesterday, I did also make a post. I said, unless this is a trick, or unless there is a trick, this is a really clean setup to the upside. So I don't know. Maybe I led the witness or something like that. But over the last basically this week, we can see price came into the hourly 50. It held the daily 21. And really, we bull flagged into an up 15-minute 50. So really, everything looked good. But we had that data coming out. We know we had CPI coming out today. So we know that news and earnings and things like that can just do whatever they want to do compared to the charts. And so that's why I was like, yeah, I was kind of leaning more just sideways. It is down. Maybe we'll end up being sideways by the end of today. And really, if you kind of look at what we've been doing for the last 3 weeks now? I mean, we're really just sideways. There really isn't much to kind of look at in through here. And if we even back it up a little bit more, we are unchanged since December. We're really kind of sideways. Again, I feel like this is kind of good considering the news that's been coming out, and the amount of stuff that Trump has been doing and meeting with other leaders and putting stuff out there, and just throwing an absolute firestorm as far as media content. And so I think the market is kind of having to step back and be like, all right, he's got a lot going on. What's happening here? What's happening there? We've been having some, things that have been throwing the market around. And so maybe market participants are just kind of like, we're just not going to be pressing it right now. February is seasonally weak. Maybe it's a good time to just kind of lay low. We'll see what the new president coming in is doing and all that kind of stuff. And maybe that's kind of the vibes that's out there. So let's then take a look at, say, IWM. And, as I said, what I've been looking for is I really wanted to see if the hourly 200 could hold. And today we're breaking down from that, which is starting to reinforce the resistance that the daily 50 is. So, yeah, this is not looking great. There is always a possibility of a turnaround. We're just trying to wait and see where the IWM wants to find some support. Maybe it comes down here to its previous low, 220. It's a possibility. Or maybe this is it and it just kind of keeps working its way down and, we're never going to see the light of day again on the upside. Any of that is possible. But really, I still say underneath the surface, things are kind of looking okay. For example, if we look at Grab is doing well, and this is one of these typical patterns that we look for. We've got the Moxie indicator, firing up and through here, and I think this news was a buyout rumor, and so kind of maybe it was the rumor, and then they sold it, and then they actually held and ran it up again. So this is one we've been tracking, nothing official, but we've been talking about it. That's the other thing. There have been so many trades and so many opportunities and stocks setting up that I keep telling all the Moxie subscribers out there that we have in the room, I was like, I wish I could be trading all these things, but I can't. I mean, otherwise I'm going to have 30 or 40 names that I'm trading. So I'll take the ones that I think are going to be decent or the best. And if you guys want to trade more, that's great. But yeah, I just can't touch all the water is kind of my problem with the market right now. But yeah, things like Grab doing pretty well. Yeah, as I said earlier, LTBR, we got nuclear names that are still doing fantastically. We're not in this one. We're in a couple others. OKLO has been doing great for us. And I think it's just kind of pulled back a little bit. I mean, we got what do we get? 25%, and then we got 46%. And now we're just kind of hovering here at 50%. And that was in a matter of days. So this is pretty good as far as the stock trading that we're doing out there. And now I'm just kind of waiting to see if some of the other nuclear names are going to be popping up and following through. NNE has earnings, I think, at the end of today. Yeah, well, tomorrow morning. So, before market. Wow, did it already have earnings? I don't see any numbers. 2:12 before the market. That should be right now. So did they just not report? Doesn't look like much has happened, and I don't see any numbers on top of there. So maybe they are delayed with their numbers. Anyway, yeah, we'll have to kind of see for something like this. It's been pulling back a little bit. Maybe it's pulled back into the daily 50. Again, earnings, anything can happen. So we'll just kind of have to see what goes on with that. And maybe it will give some guidance as to the rest of the nuclear names, that kind of stuff. Yeah, beyond that, we're looking at some things like the mega caps. I was also talking to the Moxie traders today. And if we zoom out a little bit, we have been in FNGU, which is the leveraged ETF of the FANG stocks. Now, that includes names like BABA. I don't have them all memorized, but I do know that there are some Chinese names in FNGU. And for a long time, I kind of thought that, well, maybe that wasn't going to be great because, for a long time, the Chinese names were down and not really doing too much. And maybe it was kind of acting as a bit of an anchor and not allowing this to do well. I mean, obviously it's been doing pretty strongly, but I just wonder if it was kind of slowing things down a little bit. But now that I've been looking around the market, the Chinese names are actually looking pretty good. I mean, despite anything that we've been seeing with Trump and tariffs and the Chinese trade war and all that stuff, I got to say, the Chinese names are starting to look pretty darn good. And if you guys want to trade that sector, then there are opportunities in there as well. And so FNGU has BABA and, as I said, a couple other names in there. And I think that's actually doing us a favor because you can see how well FNGU is hanging out or holding up compared to, say, MAGS, which is specifically just some of the Magnificent Seven, right? And so this one has not been doing very well. I mean, you can actually see that we do have some weakness in through here. The Moxie indicator has been down, and you can see we are starting to kind of roll over here. Now, I'm not going to say that this is bearish necessarily. It could just be hanging out and needing to digest some stuff because you can see here on the weekly chart, you see how it overbought. And for the most part, if you kind of zoom out, this really just looks sideways. So I think that's a lot of what we've been seeing with the market is that some of the more major components have, like the Nasdaq and the S&P and the FANG stocks, the mags, they have been up quite a bit. And we had a good run into December, a little bit weak through December. January was pretty good, and now we're in February. So it just kind of feels like the market needs to digest a lot of this stuff. And we're looking at things like this, and I just don't see anything too bad comparatively. So we're just going to have to let the market rest, and that's okay because you can even look back here. I think this was the yen carry trade situation, and while it had a big run up and a big run down, look what it did after that. It rested for a few weeks and then finally was able to recover. And I think we're kind of in the same thing. As I said earlier, with the whole, we got to Trump in office. He's changing up a lot of stuff. There's a lot of moving parts, and maybe the market is just saying like, hey, let's just sit back here a little bit and see how the dust settles and where all this stuff is going. And let me clean this up a little bit. I'll show you guys this. And you can see here, even FNGU, really not looking bad, really just kind of hanging out sideways in through here. And I feel like the SPX and the NASDAQ are essentially doing the same thing. And so it may not be the most exciting thing, but I'm pretty much okay with the market doing sideways. It's much better than it going down. And so the longer that we go sideways, the more of a base that it can build, and it'll shake out some of the weak hands. And I think it'll allow people to get positioned the way we need to. That'll also kind of help keep the market a little bit contained, and that I think that in the long run it's gonna do well for us, because if we have a market that just keeps going day up, day after day after day, it just becomes unsustainable, and it's top heavy, so a little bit risky. That also reminds me, a little bit in the middle, I wanted to show you guys. I know we've been talking about this before, but we want to promote the Money Show. They're good to us, so we want to be good to them. If you guys are in the area or you like coming out here, come out to the Money Show. It's going to be in Las Vegas this year. It's going to be February 17th through the 19th. And I got to say, that's actually how I got here at Simpler Trading. Was when I had my own company, moxietrader.com, and I was basically doing the same kind of thing, doing online education for stock trading. I was like, hey, Dad, I want to see if I can get bigger. I want to go join a company or something like that. And so my dad and I flew out to Las Vegas for the stock trading show. And that's where I ran into John Carter, actually, just in the back of the room. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's John Carter. It's pretty awesome. So I went up, I talked to him. He had his whole entourage there. Danielle was there, Mandy was there, and a few other people. And so I was starting talking to him, and that's when he was like, "Hey, well, great. Give me a call when this whole show is over, and we'll connect." And so we did that, and then I flew out to Austin. Everything felt pretty right. They offered me a position, and then I flew out and moved to Austin, Texas, and that's how I got a job over here at Simpler. So I think I'm now in my 6th year with Simpler Trading, and it's been a fun time. And it all came from the Money Show. So I've got a little special place for the Money Show in my heart, because that allowed me to get to where I am today about this stuff. So come around if you guys are still going to be in the area. I know I've got a couple other subscribers that we're going to be running into, some of the traders, and it'll be great. So we'll grab a beer or something like that. I know they've got some mingling things, but otherwise we're going to be in Vegas. It's going to be a fun time. So come check it out. All right, let's see, what do we got? John, so Earning Whisper shows NNE earnings report is 331. Okay, so that's gonna be a ways out. I guess Thinkorswim had that wrong about that. Yeah, Eric, Money Shows, it's a good time. I like the ones in Vegas because the Money Show, it's got what it's got. But if you're going to go someplace like that, you might as well go to Vegas and have some fun. Orlando can be fun in its own right, but you better be prepared to go to Disneyland if you really want to make something of it. Okay. Yeah, right. So the other thing that I've been noticing, and we covered this in the Moxie room, but I'm looking at my account, and for as much as the market is down, my account is actually up. So, that's pretty great. Oftentimes I just look at my account, and that kind of tells me what I need to know about the vibe of the market. And so this gap down, my account's up. That's telling me that I think things are actually doing all right. The other thing that we can look at in through here is, interestingly, again, looking at the account, yesterday, market-wise, the market was actually sideways to up. But underneath the surface, my account, and therefore the Moxie account, was actually down. And so I think that a lot of people were getting either some cold feet, or maybe people knew that this report was going to be a little bit on the hot side, and so they actually sold ahead of the earnings. And so I saw that, and I was kind of prepared for this. And today, given that the market's down and my account is up, I'm like, okay, they sold into it. Now we've got the news passed, and it's kind of like taking a band-aid off. We just ripped the band-aid off, and now we can kind of get back into things. So yeah, the market's not totally bleeding. It's back down here in a range. It's, we're sideways for a few more days and weeks. And other than that, I think things are looking all right. We do have some other kind of unknowns. We have Roku coming in for earnings. There was a bit of a bull trap yesterday. If you guys saw that, it was a nice breakout, but then they sold it right into it. So I don't know, is that going to be a good omen or not? I don't usually like to play earnings specifically for earnings, so I'm not in Roku, and I'm not going to get into Roku as an official trade, but I will say the chart looks good. You just have the gamble of earnings, and we never know what's going to happen. Just talk to Google from last week. Looked great going into earnings, and then they dropped it. So anything can happen. And on that note, UPST went up on earnings, so great. We're not in this one, but again, another good setup. Kind of looks like the grab ticker that we were talking about. So good to see that one. But the one that we did trade, we were in AFRM, and we were in this one well before earnings, and we already had a bit of a cushion. So I thought, yeah, okay, let's go for it. We bought AFRM down here at what, $54 or so. And I decided to sell about 25%, just taking profits on the gap up, because again, you never know how these things are going to hold up there. And I think that was about a 33, yeah, about 33% gain. And now we're up here around 38. I think we maxed out at 45 or so. Totally fine. So now we've taken some profits. We've got some cushion to work with. And this thing is making new all-time highs. And so we just let this thing kind of settle in. So yeah, the occasional earnings trade, if we got something that's working out, great. Google did not work out. But that's the market for you. So it'll be very interesting to see what Roku does. Fingers crossed. I hope things are positive. I always wish that the market is doing well out there. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We've got a bunch of names that we've been looking at, and I'm hoping that this pullback that we've been seeing over the last few days actually gives us some good buying opportunities. So we're looking for that. I don't see anything quite yet, but I am interested. We're keeping some powder dry. And then if this market can kind of keep shaking off all of these things that we've been dealing with for the last 3 weeks, I'm going to still be pretty bullish on the market. It's just a matter of when. It kind of reminds me of when we were in let me see if I can show you guys here. So we go back to the SPX, the debt ceiling debacle, crisis, as they want to put it. You can see here, look how long the market was sideways and chopping sideways until basically they got the debt ceiling figured out, and then the market took off. So I'm kind of thinking we might be in something like this, which again, it held up pretty well. I think the market's holding up pretty well right now. And so I think it's just a matter of time until things start going to the upside. I don't know what the trigger is. Obviously, it wasn't CPI, and we're just going to have to be patient to figure out what that next answer is. All right, guys, I hope you guys are having a good time out there. Remember to come over to simplertrading.com/Moxie if you want to find out more information about me and our trading room. It's $7 for 30 days if you want to give that a shot. And then other than that, we'll see you guys at the Money Show. And coming up, I also have a class that I'm going to be teaching. We haven't quite nailed it down yet, but we're going to be doing like the OG Moxie class. It's been probably 4 or 5 years since I've taught this thing, and I really just want to do a fresh deep dive into the Moxie indicator and my trading basics. And so this is going to be coming out towards the end of March, maybe the beginning of April, but I think we're looking at the end of March. So we'll see about that. So kind of keep your ears out. All right, guys, we'll see you soon. And for those of you in the box room, I'll be back on the mic in, I don't know, another 2 hours, and we'll see you there. Okay, take care.